Welcome to Getting Lost Live. I'm Ralph. I am one of the producers of Getting Lost, a documentary focusing on the TV show Lost, and I'm joined by Emily, who's another producer of the movie. We have Taylor, the director of Getting Lost, and our guest, Ryan, who is on Oahu as we speak.
Aloha.
How you
Aloha.
doing? So it's been a while since we've done an update, but since our last sort of live stream, a lot has happened. I would even say a lot's happened since we announced this live stream. We'll get into that in future installments. But I just wanted to touch base with everybody who's been following us and supporting us, and just kind of giving you guys a State of the Union address, like a State of the Documentary address. And I figured we would start by maybe fielding a couple of questions. Taylor and I run the socials, and we get a lot of the same questions. I figure we can get some of these addressed now. So if anybody has any questions in the chat, let us know. Here's a good one. What did one snowman say to the other snowman? So I'm going to try to keep up on this. We already have 49 people in the chat, so let's talk about. This is a question I do not have the answer to.
I got some guesses.
Yeah, I have some guesses too.
But we really don't know.
I don't know. We like Dom. We still want him on board. We'd love to find out what his story is. He anytime it's the subject is sort of mentioned, he wants us to tell the truth about Lost, but unfortunately he's the guy that knows the story,
right?
The truth. And so it's like we want to talk to Dom. Yeah. We want to tell your truth. Come join us. We're cool guys. Everyone seems to like us. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's that question. We'll put that one aside. But the main question is this: the one that I get the most. Taylor, when can I watch the movie?
We are still aiming, fingers crossed, for that September 22nd premiere date. For the people that bought tickets in advance on our Indiegogo, that's what we're aiming for. I think that's a Saturday this year. Am I right? Anybody?
It might be a Sunday.
It might be a Sunday. But we're trying to organize a big event for the actual 20th anniversary of Lost in Los Angeles. We're going to try to get some of the cast, some of the people from the documentary to all come and have a great big Lost party. And we're going to try to premiere the movie that day. Whether that's the 100% finished version or not, I don't know. But our goal from the very beginning has been to put this movie out this year, being the 20th anniversary of Lost. So we're going to do everything in our power to get this movie out, meaning anybody, the Indiegogo people will get it this year, right? If you've pre-ordered a digital copy or a Blu-ray or something, you'll at least get your digital copies, because Blu-rays take a little while to manufacture, and shipping and all that. But that will happen this year. We are not in control if for some reason this were to get picked up by a streaming service or something like that. They tell us what day it comes out, and we have no power over that. So best case scenario, we don't know when it comes out. That said, we are doing everything in our power to put the movie out around the 20th anniversary. That was always the plan. That is still the plan. I need to edit faster. So I should be editing right now, but here we are.
But we still have more interviews to do. So which is another question that I get asked a lot over on Twitter/X. How come so-and-so isn't in our movie? How come A lot of people want to know, hey, are you getting Matthew Fox? Hey, are you getting Evangeline Lilly? Hey, are you getting Harold and Dom? Uh, um, the answer to that is we're trying. We're trying to get everybody. Um, it's just one of those things that we sort of have an end date in the next couple to where we can't like keep shooting because it has to be edited. So we're in a mad scramble right now to try to get everybody possible. And of course, we're trying to get Matthew Fox. Matthew, if you're watching for some reason, we're cool guys. We're likable. And we'd love to chat with you about the show. So anybody you can think of that we haven't announced yet, we have reached out to all of them.
Yeah. We try not to, there are people who have said they don't want to be in the movie, and we're not going out of our way to announce negative things, right? So when Dominic did that post the other day, that was, he can tell you he doesn't want to be in our movie. We're not going to tell you that he said that to us 6 months ago, even though he did, because, that's not, we like announcing positive things and happy things.
The thing about that post that I sort of, it kind of helped me a little bit was that it was public. And over the course of the last couple of years that we've been working on this, we get a lot of responses from people who represent, actors and writers and creators and stuff. And those are pretty normal responses that we get from folks like that. And it's kind of nice to show everybody like, hey, listen, this isn't like, it can be tough. It can be brutal. I equate it to like me being in high school and liking, a girl and mustering up the courage to ask them out. And I feel like I'm doing that with every single person we've reached out to. I look at my email. I make sure it's worded correctly. I make sure it doesn't just sound like legalese. I try to make it personal. I try to make it fun. Because again, we're cool dudes, and we don't want people to think we're just.
It's a paper note in their locker that says, "Will you be in our Lost documentary? Circle yes or no."
Yeah, and so sometimes we get rejected, and sometimes it doesn't work out. They might be busy that day or whatever it is. This was like the first time that you guys have gotten a glimpse into what we go through when someone asks, because we didn't ask Dom that question on Instagram about being in the doc, but that's kind of what happened. So it's a bummer, and I don't think I'm giving up on him yet. I don't want to make him mad. I don't want to harass him. But if I ever see him in public, I'll introduce myself and hopefully have a fun conversation. But
we got we got to move on. We got so many questions in the chat here. And most of them are not, why haven't you reached out to Matthew Fox? Which I promise we're trying.
Another question we get a lot is, where can you watch this? Again, probably the best thing to do is go to our Indiegogo page at gettinglostdoc.com, and you can pre-order a Blu-ray or the digital version. As far as streamers go, we're shopping it around.
Yeah, we won't know that. If you follow us on social media, you'll know as soon as we know, or at least as soon as we can say anything. I saw another question that was asking about runtime and if there's going to be extra stuff, because we've announced, 100 interviews, and that's way too much for a movie.
Right.
The answer is we're probably going to keep the runtime pretty reasonable, pretty like consumable, so that like your cousin who kind of likes Lost will still enjoy it. And we're going to try to cram everything else into these digital bonus features onto the DVD, Blu-ray. Maybe some of it comes out on YouTube at some point. We don't really know, but we're not throwing anything away. If we announced an interview, like, everybody's excited, Josh Holloway's going to be in it, and he'll probably only be in the movie for a handful of minutes, but we're not going to throw away the rest of that footage. You'll see it somehow. That's part of the fun of making this stuff. But we don't know how yet.
Here's a question that I want to ask, bring up to Taylor because I was there, and I'm going to ask you this. Emma Scott wants to know, how was meeting Damon?
Ooh.
That day was fun.
Yeah, it was.
It was nerve wracking.
It was.
I'll just say that it was nerve wracking.
Yeah. You know, I was nervous. I was.
Yeah.
Also, you get into it. We shot it in his office, and he has like the Pee Wee Herman bike in there. It's not a replica; it's the one from the movie, right?
Yeah, it's one of 5. Yeah,
and there were some lost props that were just laying around, and we're just like, I guess, do we pick this up and take a picture with it? What are we doing here? Because he left for us to set up, and then he came back, and so we're just like a kid in a candy store, but the candy store is Damon Lindelof's office. Which I think added to the stress of like, where are we? If we had done it in a studio or something, it would have felt more neutral. Like we came into his turf.
Mr. Echo Stick was in there.
Yeah.
Just in there.
We all touched it.
I held the squirrel baby, which nobody else wanted to do. But it was
squirrel baby. It was dirty.
It's made of twigs. And then I have one more question that has been showing up on Twitter, and I see it on Instagram, is folks want to know, since Lost is a global phenomenon, will the documentary have blank subtitles? And fill in the blank with Spanish, Portuguese, Brazilian, you name it.
Yeah. Emily, do you have an answer to that?
Yeah, I mean, we've already had a bunch of people reach out to us to actually offer and do subtitles. French is one of the languages. I see a couple of folks in the chat specifically asking about French. So we are really going to try to include as many different languages as we can. And it really helps if you are a fan and you are bilingual and can help us maybe with a specific language, reach out to us because that will really help us get it translated into more languages. And I think, Taylor, for the DVD, we're probably just going to include maybe a few to start, but then we can always update that digital version that we have available to add more languages as we translate them. So even if we don't have it translated in that first, release, if there's a language that, people are really asking us to provide, then we can always add it later. So let us know.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And even after it comes out, a year from now, we can still add more languages and release it in more countries. And we're open to help with that. I know AI is starting to learn how to do subtitles, but I'm pretty sure they're wrong most of the time.
Yeah. Are there any other questions that you see frequently that you wanna answer? As far as socials go,
where can I see it?
Subtitles.
Why is my favorite character not in your movie? And no one ever asks like how we're doing. How you feeling? Right. How you feeling, Ralph?
Now let me ask you this, because we've been working for a couple of years now. More gray? Is it more gray in the beard? I feel like it's getting more gray.
I mean, I don't think you wore glasses when we started this.
You know what? I have glasses, and I'm supposed to wear my glasses all the time. I got new glasses, and they're really
they're real sharp.
They don't fall. They're really cool. They turn into sunglasses in the sun. I feel like a real cool dude.
Somebody in the comments asked how we're doing. I think we're doing pretty well. It's been a stressful roller coaster of a project, and it still is to this day. Like Ralph said, things have happened since we announced this live stream that I have lost a tremendous amount of sleep over.
It
keeps happening.
It keeps happening, and it's usually like, it's funny how things work, because like, you get a gut punch like Dom. Like, I felt like that was a real gut punch to go publicly and just say, no, I don't want to do the movie. But But then it's like, man, something seems to usually rear its head, soon after, and it makes things better. It's much like launching the Indiegogo. I was a ball of stress for a week because I didn't know how that was going to go. And then the next thing you know, we fund in 30 hours.
Yeah.
I might transition this into Hawaii.
Yeah.
Because in Hawaii, we have Ryan with us, who was the Lost set sleuth back in the day. Also did the transmission podcast with his wife Jen. It was the first podcast I had ever listened to, and I love Ryan dearly. He was invaluable for a trip to Hawaii, which started off. Talk about stress. Day one of Hawaii turned out to be day zero of Hawaii because your plane out of Oregon got canceled. And
there were a lot of airplane problems on our airplane documentary.
Yeah. And you showed up an hour to the shooting location before our first interview, and talk about like stress and high pressure stuff. But when we saw that car come rolling up the driveway and Daniel Day Kim came out, a lot of that stuff gets washed away. So Hawaii was I just want to first of all thank Emily, because she spearheaded the production on Hawaii. I think was it like the Wednesday? I think it was Wednesday. We did something like talk to like 8 people that day.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you coordinated that, but Hawaii was so nice. We had trouble on Tuesday because the power went out. We were on Kualoa Ranch. It rained on us. We couldn't get the drone shots. But Emily set up an open day on Thursday. We came back and again bounced back, and it was like the most beautiful day. The shots Taylor got were amazing. I've seen like 3 final drone shots, and they're just phenomenal. And then the rest of the time we essentially spent with Ryan, who showed us a lot of cool places. And if you're paying attention to our socials, you saw a glimpse of some important information with Ryan. Ryan, how you doing?
How am I doing? No,
Yeah.
I'm doing quite well. Got a slight cold, so taking
Okay.
completely ineffective yet somehow feels good to take cold medicine. But so that would explain the voice. But it was so much fun having you guys in town, and I will confess that I wasn't invited. I wasn't necessarily supposed to be at some of the shoots that I showed up at, but I missed stalking the show so much that I enjoyed stalking your podcast, your documentary. So thank you for not shooing me away when myself or my daughter would just be like, "Oh, you're over there. Can we come?" We just sort of jumped in. It was tons of fun.
I feel like a lot of time it's just us 3 and then our camera operator / cinematographer Steve doing these shoots. So having you and Kate around was really nice to be able to feel like it wasn't just focused on work. If I needed to kind of get up and go talk to somebody, like you guys were there to tell us cool stuff. Taylor did a lot of shots with Ryan in locations where we needed to be out of the shot. So it was nice just hanging out with Kate, and who's just wonderful. Kate's great. And you guys are great. And it lent a real warmth to what was a pretty crazy schedule. Like it was nice to have. It really, really brought a comfort to me having you there.
I was your comfort nerd. That's sweet.
It really worked.
I was trying to find you a backup camera person and crew and all of that stuff because of that flight cancellation and even running around with you. I think even that first day where we were chasing the light and running out of light and going to different locations, like, oh no, we're gonna that was a crazy day, and that was just your second day there, I think. And to know that you were doing stuff every single day, that you in fact went back to locations that we were at to be able to get better shots. I mean, I could imagine a lot of documentaries. They're like, well, that we visited, that's what we got, that's what we're going to use. But no, from Mokuleia to Papailoa Beach, or at least out to the Ankaana Point area, that you could go more than once to have better weather. I mean, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a great schedule. I like, seriously, kudos to Emily. I've been scheduling like LA trips and stuff, and nothing, I don't think, quite like the Hawaii trip. There was a ton packed in there, because it was more than just interviews. It was shooting at locations, shooting walk and talk interviews, multiple interviews in one day, interviews that overlap, like there was people coming in and out of interviews. It was a wild time.
It felt, I imagine, because I wasn't a part of it, but I feel like it probably felt like what it felt like shooting Lost some of those days, with the weather,
right,
with the sand and the heat and the beach and the noise of the ocean and all these things that we've heard people who worked on Lost talk about in all their interviews. They're like, oh, and then it would just start raining, and then the wind, and then I'd have to time my dialogue in between ocean waves so that you could hear it. And then we get there and I'm like, oh, right, now we have to deal with these problems too, because we wanted to film on the island.
Yeah, like airplanes flying overhead, which is really great when you're looking for an airplane flying overhead, but not great when you're trying to get good audio.
Yeah.
Right. It was funny because I had mentioned to Jorge Garcia, who played Hurley on Lost, that we were going to Kuloa Ranch, and he asked how it was going. I said, oh, it rained on us and the power went out on the island. And he's like, oh, welcome to Hawaii.
Yep.
And I was like, yeah. So I'm like, it's exactly what they went through on Lost. Like, it was a pretty normal occurrence for everybody there. They all took it in stride. Meanwhile, we were like, now what? What are we supposed to do?
That hasn't happened to us filming, an interview in LA at a studio.
Right.
Like, it doesn't rain and the power doesn't go out.
Right.
It's not part of it.
Not to
Planes
say
are
that
still
we're
there.
not to say that we're a developing country or anything, but yes, when the power goes out for a couple of hours, that's fine. It's usually only when you have to worry about your fridge that people start to panic. So
Right.
Yeah.
And I do have to say that, I mean, I haven't been on really many of the LA trips, but everybody that we were working with, like in Hawaii to coordinate things with, Ryan, people at Kualoa, other locations we went to, everyone was so incredibly welcoming and helpful.
Yeah.
And that was just like such a wonderful feeling to get to go to all these places and just feel so welcomed in what we were doing. And we don't feel that way in LA. It's
that might
just
be
not
different
the
when
same.
I just from following you around, it was amazing. Like, I hadn't even been to the church where the finale was filmed until I got to hang out with you guys, and just the security guard there was just thrilled to have us there. Versus like, who the heck are you guys? Like, I kept apologizing, like, could we go here and can we go there? He's like, yeah, let's go check it out. And then another, I mean, it was amazing how accommodating. Yeah, I especially, of course, being someone who's used to being chased away, it was nice to be welcomed. So that was very cool. Yeah.
Was that Abraham, I think?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, like, that's the thing too, is we had a specific contact for the church that we were talking to, and we were a little nervous about maybe showing up too early or whatever. When we got there, our contact handed us off to a different person because they were a Lost fan. And so we've come to realize, and I'm going to answer this question. Someone asked if we were able to use Michael Giacchino's music. I'll get to that in a second, but we found that there's a ton of Lost fans out there, and they're rooting for us, and so they'll be accommodating and let us have the run of the church. Abraham let us stay probably way later to talk to Ryan and Kate than we probably should have. They were probably ready to go home,
definitely
for the night. But it was very accommodating because we were running into Lost fans. As far as Michael's music goes, I don't know if we are going to be using music from the show. That costs money.
That remains
music. Yeah, music from Disney probably isn't cheap to get our hands on, but Michael himself has given us music. Michael has given us unreleased tracks, about an hour and 5 minutes of unreleased tracks that he wrote in 2009. Very much sounds like Lost. If you watch the opening and closing of this live stream, you'll hear that music. If you saw the Slate video that we did, posted last week before we announced Josh, that's also music that Michael gave us that we can use. And that's all just because Michael loves Lost and he's rooting for us and he wants us to have, the best music we can. And he owned that music and he's like, I want you to have it. And we can't thank him enough because it's true. We've had VFX people come to us. We've had so many people ask or offering their services for the subtitles around the world. So, and then if you just look at like your Indiegogo page and how many backers, our Cave Wall, we have Cave Wall a post coming up tomorrow that shows off more of our backers, and the numbers are just
when
we first started it was like two digit.
Yeah, we're like,
and I'm looking at one like 1,400 is one of the numbers coming up. So those numbers that you see on those candidates are based on the number that they backed
when they backed it.
Yeah.
Giacchino is amazing. We literally accosted him coming off of a panel at Comic-Con way back when, and Jen had actually gone to talk to someone else, but it was Kate and I, and Kate was starstruck, even though, as you know, she's not particularly well versed in Lost, but after seeing him on the panel, he's like, that guy's impressive, and I like the other shows he's written for. So he took a picture with Kate, and it's still one of her favorite Comic-Con memories. And again, he didn't have to interact with the lowly attendees, but he was very giving of his time. Yeah,
he's a cool guy. He's a real cool guy. And we can't thank him enough. Also, I'm going to be in Hawaii for his concert. He has a concert coming up in April.
Many questions about that in the chat.
Yeah, a lot of people are going. Ryan mentions he's in the nosebleed. I'm in the nosebleed as well. But I
don't even have a ticket. So if I come, I'm just going to be standing in the aisle, I guess.
Right.
I don't know if I can go yet.
Did it sell out? I didn't know it sold out.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. I mean,
I know a guy who
could yeah. I mean, full disclosure, Michael asked if we were going to be there to shoot the concert, and it was kind of outside of our window of shooting, but
yeah,
I don't know. We're thinking about it. We're thinking about it if it's worth spending the money on the trip.
Closing credit shot.
Yeah. But for me, I did a week of work in Hawaii. It was fun work, but it was work nonetheless. And Stevie, my wife, wasn't able to go with us. This April 17th is our 20th wedding anniversary. We've been together 25 years. We are it didn't even occur to me that we were married the same year that Lost came out. So it's going to be a week of, am I going to do it? It's going to be a week of hearts and we'll see how much my vacation with Stevie revolves around Lost. I'm just kind of letting people know now, like,
yeah,
it's a week for me and Stevie.
Yes, I would love to meet her, but I totally get it. Actually,
100% at the Lost concert. If you see me at the Lost concert, you guys have to say hi. You have to say hi to me because it's going to be like the one main Lost thing that we do, and I'm gonna try to not work that night. But I have a feeling when a producer of Getting Lost is at a Lost event, I think that I mean, I'm gonna have to try something. I'm sure I'm gonna have to do something, but I kind of just want to listen to the music,
Yeah. I know Erica is trying to put together a meetup as well.
And Joe from Cancer Gets Lost also mentioned that as well.
That's right.
Someone named Marty in the chat has a ticket for me, so that's great. Thanks, Marty.
So yeah, and thanks. It's not. It's nothing to sneeze at. It's really like 20 years marriage is. It just hit me. It really hit me, and I was like, oh wow, that's crazy. Just as much as Lost hit me, Lost being 20 years old, doesn't make sense to me. And just getting old right before my own eyes, and I'm just waiting for this to turn full white so I could be that
Indie
Well,
documentaries will age you. Making an indie film will age you faster than most things you can do.
My youngest was born the year Lost came out. In fact, if you had that hearing, you could probably hear him nursing during some of our podcasts.
Yes.
He is running for office now, so that's how I know how old Lost is. Like he wants to be a state representative, and the youngest one if he gets elected. And that was the baby. That was the infant.
That was the baby.
when Lost came out. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's wild. Any more thoughts on Hawaii?
I mean, it was incredible, and we shot a ton of footage. I feel like we're way behind in our like interview announcements because, like you said, we shot 8 in a day. Like I don't know, and there's a lot of cool people that we got to talk to, which was really exciting because from the beginning we were like, we got to talk to the people in Hawaii that made this show happen, and it was like, you know, unless we were able to go to Hawaii, thanks mostly to our Indiegogo backers, like that was never going to happen. So it was really incredible to be able to do that and to meet the people, you know, not just the Jorge Garcias and the Michael Giacchinos who made the show happen, but like some of the crew that just made the show happen. You know, the people who carried the heavy things and plugged in the thing and did the thing, the stuff we're
carrying
doing.
C-stands.
Yeah, our counterparts, the us of Lost, the people who are really doing it. So that was really, really cool.
And they're a ton of fun too.
Yeah.
All those interviews are really fun.
Yeah.
And
getting to go, you know, Emily and Ralph and I had been to some of the Lost locations before. And I know, Ryan, you've been to several, but, you know, being intentional about it and going and filming at these iconic spots was really cool. And it's, you know, I know it's great for the documentary, but it's also just fun for us because we're still Lost fans. Underneath this thick veneer of documentary, we're actually just geeking out because we're at, you know, the Dharma village and it's so fun. We get to go inside. This is so neat. Like that's fun.
What's nice is between Emily and Ryan, we got pretty much full access to everywhere that we went to visit, which was really nice. And what's funny is when we were at Camp Erdman, which was, you know, Othersville, Dharmaville, we noticed that there was someone taking a Lost Island tour that were watching us shoot people who worked on the show. And it was funny having that access, you know. Anyone could go to Camp Erdman and anyone could look at the things, but it was funny that they were watching us from afar the way that Ryan would watch the show from afar and take pictures. Taylor, you and Emily watched them filming Lost from afar.
Oh yeah.
You know, you visited the sets and locations and stuff. And I was so thrilled to see that people were watching us shoot about Lost at a Lost location. And I was the one that got to go over and talk to them about the project and what we're up to. Sure, I'm not, you know, Emily DeRaven or
much better looking
Garcia.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. But it's just wild when you see a van pull up that says Lost Tours on the side, and I get to go talk to the people, and I gave them buttons and stickers, and it was like Lost on Hawaii or on Oahu specifically is still like a big deal.
Yeah,
I think when Jorge had mentioned very early on about what it's like working in Hawaii, I mean, you don't have the paparazzi. I guess now you would, but back then they didn't have the paparazzi and the stalkers, except for me, I guess, that they do in California. But he said something like, they were asking, like, isn't it weird when people want to get your attention and stuff? And certainly he gets interrupted at breakfast in Kailua and stuff, and that's not great. Like, he's actually put out how to engage with him when you see him in public back then. But he did say something that I thought was cool. It's like, but you can't deny the fact that you are lucky enough to make someone's day just by showing up, right? Like he did not take it lightly that this would happen. And I think what you kind of experienced, like, wow, there's a lost documentary filming, and you make someone's day because you talk to them, or even that nice lady who was at the church, right? She just wandered in by chance and caught us, and immediately got sucked into it. Like, and I think that was. She said it was the high point of her entire trip to Hawaii.
Yeah, that was Rachel, I believe. She was great because we had heard stories about people trying to sneak in the church to see, the finale church in person. And while we were shooting there, someone snuck in, and it was Rachel. She was so excited to talk to us. She's not on social media. And so I went through our Blue Sky account, which just has like the announcements. And I got to show her everybody we've talked to so far. And I let her know ahead of time, like we talked to Daniel Day Kim and Henry Cusick, and I got to kind of give her a little bit of insight of what's coming up too. And it's just so neat. Like everybody, Karen says it here, Lost is alive and well. It's true.
Yeah,
it's really true. And it's been like just this, like the Hawaii trip was kind of a different level. Because I've grown up in the Southern California area, so doing a lot of the LA shoots, it's driving around LA. I've done it hundreds of times. I haven't done the East Coast trips. It just didn't make sense for those shoots. And so Hawaii was the first time that I got out to shoot outside. I guess there was San Diego Comic-Con and stuff, but this was like a completely different experience, and it was a blast. It was a blast. We not only did we go to Kuloa Ranch, but Emily got to drive the rental like through like the jungles of Kuloa Ranch, and we got to ride in a van. We got to ride in trucks. We got to ride like it's the most perfect like Lost tour that we got, because Jason, Doug, and Frank, they were cool with it. They're fans of Lost. They have an exhibit. They have an exhibit over there. There goes my thumb. They have an exhibit over there that shows all the movies that were produced there and all the TV shows. And they had a display for Soul Surfer, which was a poster of the actor with the shark bite bitten out of the surfboard, and they had a model shark sitting up hanging from the ceiling. And I was looking at that, I'm like, I got Dharma stickers. We could turn that shark into a Dharma shark just for a shot. And Jason's such a Lost fan, he's like, no, I'm going to do it permanent. Stuck it on himself. And so now when you go to Kuloa Ranch, if you look for that Soul Surfer poster, look up and you'll see a Dharma shark. So we made our mark at Kuloa Ranch.
Yeah.
And it's wild. And then eventually that hallway full of posters of all the movies that were shot at Kuloa Ranch, at some point, Getting Lost will have a poster in that hallway, which is so exciting.
It is. You're part of the history. You are recording the history and becoming part of the history. Emma wanted to know, what's the coolest place you got to visit? It sounds like Kualoa is on the short list.
Yeah.
I think so.
I mean, Kualoa is awesome. I'd been on the tour before. Anybody can just go and pay, whatever, and ride a little bus or a four-wheeler or anything around Kualoa Ranch, and they'll show you.
Or a horse.
Or a horse.
You could go on a horse.
Any kind of tour you can think of, they'll do it. We get to go to some parts of Kualoa Ranch that aren't on the tours. That's pretty exciting. And also, like the with Camp Erdman, with the church, we just had a level of access that was not, because I've tried to go to places before, and you usually don't have a personal tour guide that just opens all the doors for you. So it wasn't one particular place. It was just sort of the level of access. I mean, the fact we were filming at a house right next to the beach camp that is usually only accessible with a very long hike. We wouldn't have been able to get our equipment in there without the
We almost
demon.
didn't get it back.
I know.
I think I'm still winded. It
Me
was so
too.
warm that day, and
Oh
I was
my
carrying.
gosh.
I think on my body, I was like, I have 5 devices with cameras on them right now. I had like the GoPro, I had the Steadicam, I had my phone, I had my cameras because I decided to take more than one of my cameras with me. And I was walking back, and the choice was walk in this hot, deep sand or walk on the uncomfortable lava rock. And I was like, well, the uncomfortable lava rock will be quicker. I hope I don't slip because I have
Slide
a lot
off.
of equipment on me.
So I mean, I think it was on that shoot when we're at the beach camp where the 3 of us were like, we are old. Like we started. That was where the we're old conversation started, and it never stopped for the rest of the trip.
Well,
Because I remember the first time I visited that place, when I was 26 or something. I like you could walk. You have to walk like 1,000 yards down this beach, and I feel like I've done that like 6 or 7 times, and I was fine. Then we get access to this beautiful house that's right next door. We only have to walk maybe 50 yards, and I was just, I need to sit down. I was like, that looks bad.
Taylor was talking about taking the GoPro out into the water and shooting in the waves, and I'm like, that's cool. We're at the water, might as well get in it. So when I met up with Ryan and Taylor down the beach, Taylor was soaked. He was like, I'm like, oh, did you already go in the water? He's like, no, this is sweat. He looked like he'd already been in the ocean. It was so warm, and it was like just a nice, like, I don't know, 75 maybe tops.
Yeah,
but the sun was just hitting all angles, and oh man.
Yeah.
But the sea turtle made it worthwhile.
The sea turtle made it worthwhile.
An epic sea turtle at the Lost Beach. I'm surprised there weren't more in the show because it's not like they could move one if it came up while they were filming. Ryan, what's your favorite Lost location? You've been to way more of them than we have.
Oh, well, I mean, I think we had, Byodoin Temple is very popular as a tourist destination, also very strict about filming at it. So that was sort of a mixed thing. But my family used to always visit it as a kid. I think they were more interested in the stray cats than the temple, but that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
And access and stuff, like when the airplane fuselage was still out at Dillingham Airfield, you could actually visit it, right? Like when Jughead Tower was still up at Kualoa, you could visit it. It was interesting how much of the show and how much of life in Hawaii, and I'm sure it's true everywhere, is going about things that used to be there. Like, this is where this was. It's not there anymore, but isn't that great?
That used to be a blockbuster. That used to be a blockbuster. That used to be a blockbuster.
Yeah. I do that over here with Taco Bells, the old Taco Bells with the curved arches.
Someone in the chat asked if anyone did a cannonball. It's winter on the North Shore. It is an incredibly dangerous time to be in the water. And I don't know. Do you know, Ryan, where they shot the cannonball shot? Because it couldn't be right there. It's not deep enough and way too scary to jump in.
Yeah, I'm not sure offhand. And it's all rock. And people get shredded just going swimming. So yeah, no cannonballs.
Yeah. Emily, did you have a favorite place?
I think for me it was the church, and I have to say, it was watching your guys' reactions to being there and just being in that space and getting to film there. It was just like, it felt like a really special moment, and they were so wonderful to us. So
they were the best. Everyone was the best. The guys at Kualoa were the best. The folks at Camp Erdman gave us full access. We had access to did we have the keys at one point?
Yeah. To the cabin.
To the cabin. So we can charge our equipment because we were doing we're talking to 8 people or something. Yeah. So we had access to the charging stations and stuff. My favorite was the fish pond at Kualoa. I was telling Emily while you were doing the drone shots, Taylor, that if Stevie was there, we could have just left her there with a book. She would have been happy. It's such a peaceful place.
So beautiful. And the where the pier or the dock was for the submarine, it's not there anymore, but it still looks very much the same. And And then the fact that right next to it was the RV from Jurassic World where Chris Pratt, Chris Pine, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Pratt did the whole, where his RV was. It's like literally would have been in the shot when they were filming Lost. Like it's just touching right there. It's just neat. And then obviously, in Kualoa, I know you're a huge Godzilla kaiju fan. You had a whole podcast about it. But getting to be...
I'm wearing my Mothra shirt.
Yeah. Getting to be like, okay, they shot Lost right here. And then right over there is where they shot Godzilla. And right over there is where they shot Kong Skull Island. And it's all just, it's a small world once you get onto the island.
Yeah.
I was just watching that Monarch series and then going back to watch the Monsterverse. Some of those films are not great, but some of them are tons of fun. But it was interesting. I was like, oh yeah, there's Kualoa Ranch yet once again. Somehow the most recognizable mountain ranges in all of Hollywood yet continue to be used, even if it has to be, Thailand or Singapore or some other exotic location.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I like Kong Skull Island because it was shot by our friend Larry Fong, who shot 9 of the first seasons of Lost, 9 episodes of the first season. Yeah. I think Sarah, we talked about this earlier. Dominic is pretty much said no, but miracles have happened on this movie, so we'll see. Are there any more questions?
No for an answer.
I kind of don't want to, but at the same time, I don't want to bother people. I feel like here's the thing. I feel like I just want to talk to them face to face instead of getting no through an agent or through a third party. I feel like there's one person who we interviewed who they were a yes, had to cancel on us, and then they were a no. But we talked to them. We did a Zoom chat with them, and it turned out being a yes. I mean,
it's true.
It was special circumstances, and it's probably my favorite interview. I'm not going to say who, but it's one of those things where it's like, I honestly believe like if we just see them face to face, and could talk to them, we can sway them. And it's not necessarily trying to sway them. It's just to be like, hey, we're relaxed. We're not out there saying the hard hitting questions. When we were done talking with Daniel, laughing and having a good time, like it seems like once we get through the interview, they realize, oh, that was easy. It wasn't like a difficult interview. We're not asking like insane. I mean, Jesse, is any official word from Matthew or Evangeline Lily status? I mean, we could talk. We could talk. Jesse, who is one of the EPs. I mean, we're looking at every angle, but I'll get in touch with you.
I just like saying McJugger Nuggets. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's fun to say.
So it's one of those things where, and I feel like it's one of the reasons why I like doing the live streams is because, nothing's prepped ahead of time. We just jump on and chat. This is our conversations, when it comes to, chatting with like Bobby Moynihan or Jorge or stuff. Like usually after the interviews are over, for some reason we keep talking about Lost.
Yeah, and I go back to edit and I'm like, remember when so-and-so told us that great story and it's not in the footage? I'm like, oh, right, because it was while we were packing up the equipment. Dang it. Somebody asked in the chat the best way to get in touch with us. Ralph and I run all the social medias, so we get the DMs, we see them. We do have an email for the doc. Is that right?
Yeah. gettinglostdoc@gmail.com.
Yeah. And Ralph gets that? I don't get that. Who gets that? Emily, do you get those?
I get it. It's mostly also I get is the Indiegogo updates, but I have to check.
Gotcha.
yeah,
Well, if
reach out.
anybody's trying to get in touch
Socials,
with us to help out, the socials are a great way. We see the
Yeah.
DMs. We don't get that
socials
many.
are the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, we're working on everybody, so
That would be incredible.
yeah. And I agree. We're living the dream of all of us Losties. Happy for you guys. We're happy with how things are turning out. And yeah, we can't thank you enough. Again, yeah, we're working on everybody. I think someone's rocking out. Who's rocking out?
That's
Oh,
not
that would be
Ryan?
me. Sorry, that's the blender. Sorry
the
about
blender.
that.
But I think we're good. I think we fielded a lot of questions. Jesse, I'll get back to you. And then yeah.
Oh, Rudy asked if anybody's seen From. Emily and I have been watching From. Oh man, it's a great show.
I'm afraid. I don't like
it's
scary stuff.
You wouldn't like it.
Scary. It's scary, but I don't handle really scary stuff, and it's so good that I can get past that part.
I want to watch it just because Hobby's involved, and I love Harold. And if for some reason we get in the same room, I'd like to bring it up. Yeah, Caleb says he loves From. Yeah, it sounds.
I mean, it's like Lost level mystery, but like with a modern. You know how TV is better now because of Lost. This is one of those better shows that has, the premium television look and with Javi writing it, it's got some serious season 1 Lost vibes.
Javi is great. Javi is so great. So
I want to watch directed a bunch of the episodes.
Great.
And Harold is the main guy, so it's pretty.
Yeah.
It's pretty Lost. It's in the Lost family for sure.
100%. Yeah. Great.
Well, thank you again for including me. And anytime you guys want to talk about Hawaii, I'm totally on board. That's kind of my jam. I did want to close my part by just kind of paying tribute to your professionalism. Like, for example, Taylor and Emily, as a couple working together can be fraught. It can have its ups and downs. It can bleed into other parts of your life. And to watch you two in action was just inspiring and amazing. Like, Emily does not take any guff. She runs things like she runs a tight ship, like keeps the trains running on time. And I was like, wow, like, Taylor might be the director, but I think we know like who's the boss here. So I thought that was like very impressive. And that's why I was happy also that even though you were working so hard during this trip, that you would periodically, have moments together, like say, next to a sea turtle. So that was great. And I also wanted to just mention, like, so professional is this group that, we were doing that interview at the church with Kate and myself, and we got to talk a lot about Jen. And I think actually afterward, Kate and I realized probably the first open conversation we've had about it for a long time. Like, it's not that we avoid the conversation, but it may not come up that often, and certainly not with other people. So what was impressive about that was like we're pouring our hearts out. We're trying to keep our composure, and Taylor and Emily and Ralph are there, and they're just totally doing their jobs, right? And part of me is like, boy, I guess this might be a little emo for the documentary. And even if it's not in the documentary, that's fine. It was a great conversation. But it was funny that as soon as you like, okay, cut, we're done, like, then we all just had a good big cry together. It was just amazing to go from that professional sort of setup to just we're all just humans here having a touching moment. It was very heartwarming.
I'll be honest with you. I felt like a bad producer during that interview because I was bawling the whole time. I was out of sight because you're focused on Taylor, who you look at during the interview. So I was standing aside, like I was a mess, but I felt like a bad producer because I'm like, I knew the subject of Jen was going to come up. Why did I not bring the biggest box of Kleenex? Why did I not bring that? I was like, I failed. I ran to the bathroom and got like the worst paper towels. I'm like, anything
the cheap stuff.
It was.
So thank you though. That was amazing.
Thank you.
It was a
people ask us a lot.
It really was.
what's your favorite interview, or, who was the most fun to talk to, or a lot of people ask what was the most difficult. Not crying for the last 10 minutes of your interview was the most difficult thing that has happened in this project. I'm almost crying right now thinking about just how open you were, and with Kate there, and how lovely that conversation was, and how important, Jen is to this fan community to this day. And just, we knew from 2 years ago, Ralph and I were on the phone. We're like, well, we got to include Ryan and Jen. That's such a big part of this. So we all knew it was coming. And just, you guys were so open with us, and it was such a cathartic conversation, I think, for everyone. Just one of the more beautiful moments of filmmaking that I've been a part of.
Well, thank you for staging it, for having it, because again, for Kate and I coming out of it, we're like, wow, we should probably talk like that more often. Like, you brought out conversations that were meaningful to us, and yeah, it was amazing. Again,
but having that conversation, you're gonna make me cry, because it's kind of happenstance, but it really hit me hard, because we were shooting outside the church, and where you were sitting was where Ben Linus had that conversation with Hurley at the table, where Hurley's ready to move on and go into the church, and Ben says that he has some unfinished business and gets left behind. And just having you sitting there and thinking about all this stuff, I'm going again right now. It was just, I'm glad I didn't distract you, because I was a mess.
Well, that entire scene, and that wrap up for Lost has so much more resonance. I probably didn't feel it until we were talking either. So in terms of what Lost is trying to say, the ending that was so controversial, and they were like, what about all the mysteries? What about all of that? It's the way that human lives interact was the point of the show, and that's sort of what we covered. And in closing, and hopefully a little more humorously, it was fascinating. Like, even after you took pictures and stuff, I'm like, wow, Kate does look like Jen. Like, I didn't even, like, all of a sudden I was like, I hear her voice, I see her face in her face. Like, it's like, not that I see her every day, but still somehow after having that conversation, I'm like, yep, there's a lot of Jen in that one. So again, I'm very grateful.
Thank you so much for joining us. Taylor, Emily, do you have any parting words before we take off?
Nicely done.
Shout out.
Deep
Shout
cut
out
inside joke. Shout out to the typo on the vinyl release of the season 1 soundtrack. Partying words. Yeah, I want to answer the McJuggernuggets question here about the possibility of the doc being turned into a docuseries with Lost-style cliffhangers. I mean, if we could hire a whole team of editors and it wasn't me in a dark room for the next 2 years, maybe. But I think we've promised people a movie, and we're going to deliver a movie. And will there be a cliffhanger at the end? I don't know. We filmed one. I could tell you that. Ralph can confirm we have filmed an ending cliffhanger for the documentary.
That was fun.
I promise you'll get to see, because it was fun to make. But yeah, just I want to thank everybody again for tuning into this, and for supporting us on Indiegogo, and for following along. It really feels like it did 20 years ago, when there was this Lost community that was so active. And I know a lot of people don't see it, but we see it, to Ralph and I and Emily, and even Ryan and Karen and Joe and Caleb and McJuggernuggets and all the people who are in the circle. We're talking about Lost every day again, and it feels like it did 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And that feeling is why we wanted to make this movie in the first place. So to me, it's already been an incredible success, and I'm very grateful for Ralph and Emily and Ryan and everyone who's helped us and just made this thing happen. It's pretty special.
The Lost community is strong, and we wouldn't have gotten this far. I honestly believe we wouldn't have gotten this far without the support of everybody in the chat and everybody in the Indiegogo campaign, and just anybody who shared our slate video that we posted last week.
Yeah.
It's been like none of it could have been done without you guys, and I thank you guys so much. Emily, do you have anything before we take off?
I think you guys said it all. Thank you so much.
right.
It's been a blast, and we're not done yet. So stay tuned.
We're not. Good things coming. Thank you for joining us, and I'll just say to everybody, namaste, and good luck.
Namaste. Stay lost.